Hi, in this tutorial we are building a full-stack TypeScript application. The frontend is being built in Vue.js version 3 and the backend is being built in Node.js. And in this application we are using TypeScript, a single programming language on the frontend and on the backend. In addition to that, we are using this programming environment called Kretes, which helps us to arrange both the front-end solutions with the back-end solutions. In the previous episode, we implemented a very basic filtering so we can switch between all tasks, active and completed. And today we will do something simple yet important. We will add animated content placeholder using just CSS so that when the application loads, there is this information to the user that something will be displayed in a few seconds. So let's see how it looks like. So when I refresh this page, I have a very basic placeholder, which is just a div animated with a gradient. We prepare a user this way. There will be a content displayed once the data is fetched over the wire. Let's see how we can implement that. So this is our application so far. If I refresh, I get this loading message. So if I go to, and this is being done in the app view. So we are using suspense from the upcoming version of Vue.js. We have two scenarios here. The default template, which is the list of tasks, and the fallback template, which is just a H1 header right now. So let's change that. Instead of displaying the header, we will display another component and we will call it placeholder simply. So this component doesn't exist yet, so we will import it and we will add it to the list of components that can be used from the app component. So now we need to create that. So in task view, I will create a placeholder view. And just to make it easier, I will just copy the whole template from the task. So I will copy all this content just to have, the idea where the actual tasks are and where's the input, so we can then replace them with those animated rectangles. Let's go ahead and copy that and let's go to placeholder and paste here. So now I need to remove all the Vue.js related stuff, which is the directives such as vmodel, key up. In fact, I will remove all that and I will also remove the filtering so it's simpler, and this label check all. And here we will remove v4 and we will just leave the LE tag, and here we will remove vmodel like that, and this part as well. So now if I refresh, nothing happens because we made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, so we need to name it properly. And now if I refresh, I see this, single element being displayed, and then I have the actual list. So the placeholder component works. So now it would be a good idea to create a class, a CSS class with the animation. For that reason, we will do the config client index.html, and here in the style section, I will add global styles. So later on, we will improve that, but for now, we will do it this way. I'm adding a new class called loading, and this class will have a background, which will be linear gradient. So we are defining the parameters, the degree of the gradient, and then the change of colors. We are starting from this color, gradient towards this, in the spaces of this rectangle from 0 to 30% of the width, another color from 30% to 50%, and then back to the initial color. So now if I use this class in our placeholder, let's say, so if I, for example, add this loading class over here, and I add some height to it, and we need to make it full width. And now we have this rectangle with a gradient, which is maybe hardly visible. Let's make the waiting a little bit longer. So instead of 1 second, we will be waiting 4 seconds. So now you can see that there is some kind of gradient, but it's not yet animated. So let's quickly change that. So first of all, we need to use the animation. And here we need to define the name of our animation. So we will call it loading. Then duration. So let's say 1.5 seconds. The name of the function, timing function. So in our case, it will be easy and out. And finally, we will make it infinite. So the animation will happen all the time. So now we need the animation. So in order to do that, we will define this animation using keyframes. So we will call it loading as the name over here. And we will just define 2 frames. So the 0% frame and 100% frame. And we will define the position of our gradient in that rectangle. So we will say background position, we will start with 100%, and vertically it will be always the same. So we will define it as, let's say, 50%. For the 100% frame, we will do 0. So vertically, we don't change anything. It's always 50%. So we are moving from left to right, from 100% to 0. And now if I refresh, it will not work because we need to define background size a little bit bigger. So let's say 400%. Now if I refresh, it's not working because I made a typo. So it's ease in out, not easy. And now, as you can see, we have this animation that something is loading. So it looks pretty good. We can adjust certain parameters here. A little bit faster, or maybe even 1 second. So it seems something is loading, but we are cheating here, of course. So yeah, we just created a single class, the keyframes, and we can now reuse that in LE as well. So we can get rid of that content inside the LE, and we can just say this will also load, and this will be of height 10. So now we have 2 elements. I will remove the shadow, and we can now repeat that, let's say 4 times. So it's almost perfect. And finally, we will maybe make the top margin 32. So now it resembles, the position of our actual elements here. So we have this top element for the input and then 4 elements for our tasks. And this way we inform our user that there's something that will be displayed in those positions. As you can see, this approach is pretty simple. You need to just define a class using just CSS. You don't need any frameworks or any other libraries. Everything is already built in your browser, and you just define 2 things. And then we create a placeholder component, and we just use it as the fallback for our suspense mechanism. So once there is an asynchronous operation, the placeholder or placeholders are being displayed. So yeah, that's all for today. That was pretty simple, but it's a nice thing to have in an application, and we can now focus on the persistence layer. So in the future videos, we will slowly move from the front-end part to the back-end part, and we will start designing our database. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.